Welcome to the Ycast, everyone. Today we are talking about Isekai from weeks 7 through 9. I'm your host Malachi, and today I'm joined by...
Yubel? Did you hear me?
Nope.
Oh, I got off. Well, I said Yubel. Hi, guys.
That would be my wonderful co-host, Jubal.
And it's just the two of us today.
So it'll just be the two of us today. So we're going to go ahead and just jump right in, starting with the Valkyries. In week 7, they faced the androids in a divisional match, which they won. They won week 8 against the Nameks, and week 9 they won against the Dragon Ball Warriors.
Ooh.
Pretty good.
Yeah, they are on a tear. They have definitely found their niche and have stepped it up. They've become that scary team that definitely got them into Isekai last season. So, pretty impressive.
Yep. So let's just start with let's just jump right on in with their characters, starting with Fasha. Looks like she's mostly been a defense build the last few weeks with defense plus 2 Dendays and, other various melee boosts with Goku AI. She's been getting the job done.
Yeah, she's definitely been taking her man, especially week 9. She kind of gave it to Nam. I thought that Nam was just going to just crush her, but she put up a good fight. I think she took him down to his last bar before he tagged out, came back in, and went on a tear at the end. But yeah, Fasha, if he didn't tag, Fasha probably would have took him down. So
this was a glimpse, especially against Nam. That was just a glimpse of the Fasha from past seasons, where she was just a top of the league melee fighter. And, maybe they've got her working back on that again.
Yeah, it's interesting that, usually I'm just so used to seeing Fasha with, attack plus 1 or attack plus 2 all out melee, but, she's that defense player who's consistent and takes her man. So, if you can have that on your team, that's a huge help. I definitely think it is for the overall production of the team. So, good on her. Good on her.
Yeah, I don't know there's too much else to say. I mean, she's doing her job. She's been averaging, up through week 8, her average was only 36,000, but I don't know that that's really reflecting like how well she's done for her team, especially since week 8, I think she was a closer.
Yeah, she was
against Namek.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Yeah,
probably is some room for tweaking. Not sure exactly what to tweak, but I think especially this last week she proved she's solid.
Mm-hmm.
So let's just go ahead and move on to Android 18, who has been a very B2 heavy build in all 3 weeks with Super plus 2, and then either they gave her more charge with like high tension, or in week 8 she had a power body build.
And week 9 too, the same build ran that back, and she did really well. I think she did upwards of like 90k against Dragon Ball Warriors, and hitting Nam with that ultimate at the end, definitely with Super plus 2.
Yeah.
And Nation did like 21,000 damage on Nam at the end.
Yep.
It's interesting that you do kind of this heavy B2 build with power body. You don't often see that paired with power body.
No, but it really depends on the character. For an Android like 18, it can work because they're always charging, and so while they're doing melee, power body gives them the advantage in melee.
Mm-hmm.
Then whenever they get ready to charge it, you have that Super plus 2 build that can just tear through people, especially with her Destructo Discs and Infinity Bullet.
Mm-hmm.
That's gonna hurt.
Yeah, so all that combined, 18 is definitely the second best person on the team, and she's definitely scary as well. I'm glad that this upcoming weekend's booze, I mean, it had to be either her or Rayleigh out, so I'm glad it wasn't both in, because that'd be a little bit scarier. But we'll talk about that.
Let's go ahead and talk about that a little, because we'll just use that to segue into talking about Rayleigh, because as of week 9, they have rotation locked themselves into benching 18 and Rayleigh for the rest of the season.
Yep.
Since this is actually going up after the Zcast, for week 9, we found out that 18 will be benched this week, so that, 18 will be benched weeks 10, 12, and 14, and O'Reilly will be benched weeks 11, 13, and 15.
Yeah, it makes predicting a little bit easier, but
It makes predicting them so much easier.
it just sucks that you're rotation locked with your two best people. Like, I mean, you know how Daxter is, and I'm not sure about the rest of the team, but Daxter is definitely in the opinion of you get your wins early, and then, by the time that you're rotation locked, you already got your W's. But, I mean, it can still go downhill for them, so it's just a little bit too early.
The problem is that really only works if you can guarantee that you're going to be at the top of your division, because theoretically, Valkyries in our division, because they get countered, like, they could still theoretically be bottom of our division and not make the playoffs.
Yeah, that could happen if they, take L's going onwards, and the rest of the teams win. They still have their divisional versus Cold, where now we know that O'Reilly will be in and 18 will be out, and while O'Reilly is great in, I mean, you're still losing 18, who's been really well, as good as well.
So let's see. When is their divisional against Cold? Their divisional against Cold is week 12, so at the very least, they probably chose the right way to rotation lock themselves, and that at least O'Reilly will be in against Cold. But I mean, Cold is looking better than they have. While their wins have been against weaker teams the last couple weeks, I don't.
Yeah, especially week 7, they just kicked that team's ass. That weak ass team now.
Yeah. So, I mean, and don't get me wrong. I mean, the rest of the team can handle themselves, but honestly, 18 and O'Reilly have been carrying this team.
Yeah, and I can easily see them taking an L because they don't have one or the other in.
Yeah, so, just looking at their stats, their top 3 players are Vegeta, O'Reilly, and 18. But yeah, and I would say Vegeta's been a little, we'll talk about it later, but I don't think he's been he's been good for them, but I don't know that he's always been their most consistent of players.
Yeah, especially with his big switch that he's done as of late, too. In the last 3 weeks, he's been out twice, and in the last 2 times he's been in, he's been on more of a melee build than the kind of B2-ish spammy build that they tried to begin.
I don't know, and maybe it's just that, some weeks he's done well, and some weeks he just wasn't memorable. I don't know. But yeah, we're really going to see what's going to happen with the Valkyries now.
Yep. Rayleigh's back in her Rayleigh self.
Yeah, but yeah, just moving on to O'Reilly, she's definitely back.
That's scary.
Because against my team, it was O'Reilly that got them the victory against my team, the Androids, in week 7. Week 8, I remember her doing okay. And then, how did she do against Dragon Ball Warriors? I remember that Nam came in at the end and finished her off, but that was about
she was
it.
Struggling a little bit against Chi-Chi, but then she turned it around and whipped Chi-Chi's butt. Kind of gave it to Tao a little bit, but ended up getting taken down. And really, it was definitely 18 who showed up for that fight, but Aurelia was still there. I'd say she still did maybe 50, 60K, so.
Okay. Yeah, and so the O'Reilly's still O'Reilly. I mean, if there's some cracks showing in that could be really bad for the Valkyries, given that they're rotation locked now.
Yeah.
But yeah. So, because let's see, O'Reilly has been pretty much on the same build with Super Plus 1 and some type of Clash boost pretty much every week, which I think works for her. It's a good build, but yeah, when you can get predicted and potentially countered, I would honestly not be surprised to see Aurelia's stats drop going in the next few weeks.
I mean, I can say that they definitely got predicted for week 9 against Boost.
Yeah.
I can confirm that because we predicted that Fasha was going to start and Aurelia was going to be second, so we put Kid Buu second. So if everything goes according to plan and order, Aurelia will be facing Kid Buu, and I don't know how it's going to go down, but those are definitely two monsters facing against each other. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. But moving on. So, do you have any other comments about Aurelie in particular before we move on?
Nope. Who's next? Pan? Or Vegeta?
Yep, Pan will be next.
All right. Pan is so unmemorable. Like, was she even in? She was in. She was in. What did she do?
She was in weeks 7 and 9. Week 7.
Oh, now I remember what happened to her in week 9. Now I remember why she's still unmemorable.
Yeah, she came in against Nam week 9.
And Nam
6K. And
Nam beat the crap out of her. Vaporized her. Like, wow.
And then week 7, she went up against mostly 16. Took him most of the way down, and then 17 came in and finished her off with an ultimate.
Wow.
And so she's not been the most. I'll be the first to say she's gonna need to step up in the next few weeks because of the fact that they're not gonna have at least one of their heavy hitters will not be in the coming weeks. Mm-hmm. And if Val's, so let me just read out who Val's have left to fight for this season. They have Cold, Derp, Majins, Earth Defenders, Afterlife, and Booze. That's a rough 6 weeks.
It really is for you to be predicted and know exactly. Like, there is no, guessing work or anything. You literally can look and see. Everybody else has had the 3 sit out. So you're either going to be facing against 18 or Rayleigh, and you can know exactly who you're going to face because the other one was out the previous week. So.
Yep. And, I mean, you look at Earth Defenders who are known to counter, especially when Byrne was the coach. It looks like they're countering again. Majins are really strong. I don't know how they do countering. Derp is going to be another team to be on the lookout for.
Yeah, and they have to sit out Aurelie against Derp.
Yep. I mean, to be fair, they could have seen that as a loss no matter what and decided just to take it. The problem is, again, we're in a really... It's unlikely, but I mean, you look at Cold, who's improving. Cold's at 3-6. Valkyries are at 7-2. One of those matches is if Cold wins their divisional and just a few others, theoretically, however unlikely, Muscle could still even pass the Vals because they're 5 wins behind and Vals won their divisional. I don't see that happening, so Vals could be just confident that, hey, no matter what they're in, because all Muscle has to do is lose one more and they're guaranteed to be out of the playoffs. Because Valkyries have lost, or they're basically guaranteed to be out. Because they lost, although they won against Cold. I mean, Cold's improving far faster than Muscle is. Valkyries, yeah. So it'll be interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, I think just all that to go back around and say Pan needs to step up her game. Because Val's have just got a rough lineup ahead.
Yeah.
So, but do you have any other remarks about Pan?
No. I mean, besides that last build where she got her butt kicked by Nam, I've already stated how much I'm not a big fan of defense builds with no healing, but...
Yeah, I mean, needs healing, but Nam is Nam.
But Nam didn't have any healing either, so...
But he was also an attack build.
Yeah.
So let's just talk about their free agent real quick. And Vegeta, he was only in week 8 against Namek, and he did his job. So
who did he fight against? I don't even remember who he fought against.
Let me look up the Namek's lineup. He fought against King Piccolo, and if memory serves,
I believe
he did really, really well.
Yeah, I believe he kicked its butt, but then I believe he fought against the next person and got wrecked. So it pulled out back to an even fight, despite the huge lead, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, and Vegeta did 54,000. because the main thing I remember is that the Vowels Vegeta did really well, and Namek's Vegeta did basically nothing.
Yeah.
So that's the main thing I remember from that match, because it was the same Vegeta, just different forms.
Yep, one's base, Vowels have base, and Namek has Super Saiyan.
Yep. So he was only in 1 week. There's not much to say. On the whole, he
I would not
only
be
in
surprised. Yeah, I'd not be surprised if they run that back against the Boos, because he is in for the Boos against the Boos.
So we'll see what happens. I mean, he's doing okay for the team because of the 6 weeks he's been in. He's averaged 46K, but how much of that is just him actually being good versus good matchups? I don't remember. So we'll see.
Yep.
But I hope it works out for them. That's just really concerning for the Vowels. But moving on, let's talk about Muscle.
Yep. I'm Team Muscle.
Muscle and lost all 3 weeks. They lost against Rugrats, Androids in the divisional, and Gohans.
That sucks. Muscle, they just been really going downhill lately. It definitely has to do with that Broly. The Broly, he hasn't been all there. Can you hear me? Are you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Just thinking.
It's just surprising how they have been the last few weeks.
Mm-hmm.
I am glad to see that in the last week they finally changed Broly's AI, which I think helped. It's just he got matched up against Teen Gohan.
Yep. And Teen Gohan just spammed the crap out of him. So, it was already an uphill battle from there with after what Ultimate Gohan did. But, you know what? Let's go ahead. You want to start with Broly?
Sure. Let's start with him. So week 7 and 8, he was on Chaozu AI with Super Plus One, and a lot of points thrown into his V1s.
Mm-hmm.
And then week 9, they changed him to Gohan AI with Super Plus 2 and KSA and a few other different Pataras. So they were starting to change him a bit.
Yep. I definitely still. We're glad that he's finally off of Chaozu AI, because I already know how you feel about Chaozu AI.
Yeah, I've beaten that horse to death. I'm not gonna go too far on it. So I do hope the change in AI is helpful.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, it's good to see him on a new AI. I think he did as well as he could against Gohan last week. So hopefully here's the better things, because they're in dire straits. As I was saying earlier, they're basically only 1 or 2 losses away from being guaranteed to not get into the playoffs.
Mm-hmm. So they definitely stepped it up. We already know a little bit about what they're doing this upcoming week since the Zcast, and we can talk about that after we're done talking about everybody. But Broly's still in. Give the Gohan AI 1 more week when hopefully he's not facing. Well, he won't be facing Teen Gohan. He's facing something else, and see if you got it. After that, hopefully you got something or can try something else. All right. So.
Yeah. So let's just move on to Bojack. Bojack was pretty much on the same type of build. Week 7, he was just on Attack Plus 2, Dendays, and then other melee boosts with Rising Fighting Spirit. Week 8, he had Dragon Power, and then week 9, he was pretty much rocking the same build.
Mm-hmm. It's definitely not the same Bojack that the Gohans had last season, even though they're really trying.
Yeah, I think he can do better. I don't know if they just need to keep him. I don't know if the solution is an AI. So, yeah, we'll see what happens. So hopefully some tweaking and he'll be above 40k, and we'll see where that help goes. Because yeah, what they might want to look at is maybe, since they can't have eternal life while 13 is in, maybe looking at reducing from Dragon Power down to Power of Rage and QFA. There you go. Welcome back.
Yeah. Discord. So, yeah, Bojack, it's just not the same. So hopefully I can definitely find that.
No, he's not. Yeah, he's average. I don't know if you heard, but he was averaging just under 40k. So he might just need some basic tweaking or maybe better matchups. But I just feel like he's been underwhelming the last couple weeks.
Yeah. I mean, last week he just got wrecked, so. Alright, so who's next?
But yeah, let's go ahead and move on to the next one. Super Trunks. So he was in week 7 and 8 on a, he's generally been their defense build. Yeah, so as their defense build, I feel like he's doing okay. I don't know exactly what I might suggest for him, other than maybe something other than Piccolo AI.
Yeah, that might need to do a different AI, because sometimes he takes his man, and sometimes he does fine, and other times he just gets wrecked. So
yeah, because I remember in our matchup, he basically took baby Vegeta, who had another defense build, but instead he had Eternal Life and Defense +2 rather than Trunks' Defense +2 and Dende's with Power of Rage, and Mirage for dodging all of our barrage moves. So, but yeah, he's doing okay. There's probably, as I said, some room for AI improvement.
Yeah, maybe take him back to the drawing board when it comes to AI testing. But outside of that,
yeah,
he's not the worst person on the team. So
no, he's not. He's taken his man. He's averaging 40k. I think he can do better. You might maybe look at starting him in base form next season, possibly. I don't know if that would be an improvement or not, but maybe something to look at. Because, yeah.
Right, so
any other comments for him, Yubel?
No. There's just not too much you can do with him. Nice if you could have Eternal Life all the time, but not with 13 in hand. So.
Yeah. I mean, we saw how that worked last season. But let's talk about the reason why they can't have Eternal Life all the time. Android 13, who is currently their best member.
Even after what happened in week 9?
Yeah, it might not be happening. He might not be their best member anymore after this week. Stat-wise, at least.
Yeah, that... sniffed out the power body and still got beat and still went down.
Yeah. Well, some of that is just Ultimate Gohan really is just that good. And the problem is you have a B2 character. So I'll be the first to say, I don't like the fact that they have him on Trunks AI with a somewhat super-oriented build. That just screams like he needs an attack build to me. But
yeah, in past seasons he was the meleeer, but I guess they really like boosting up the B2s when he transforms, if he does B2s when he transforms.
Yeah, and I think, and then in week 8 he got kind of handled by Cell.
Yeah, he did. That's 2 weeks in a row where he just kind of got handled.
I don't really know what to say, because I think the biggest issue is, to me, it looks like they're trying to give him a very super-oriented build for the most part, but they don't have the AI to match.
Yep.
But that's just me. And I'm not sure if changing the AI is probably the right move, especially given how shaky everything else is, or if they maybe just need to maybe give him the attack +2 and launch his support, and let Bojack have attack +1 instead.
Yeah, yeah, that might work.
But I mean, he's
Muscle, you got some work to do.
yeah, they've definitely got work cut out for them.
All right, so
And then let's look at their free agent, General Blue, who was in weeks 7 and 9. On week 7, he was on Yajirobe AI, and then week 9, he was on Piccolo AI. I don't know how much we can. My recollection is he got trashed against the Gohans. Is that right?
I think he did. I think he went up against. Who did he go up against? Was it who didn't fight? Kid didn't fight. So I guess it was either adult or teen, because I don't remember him fighting against Ultimate.
Yeah, I think he went up against adult Gohan. I don't really remember. It was either adult or teen.
Alright.
So,
Alright. But yeah.
So I don't.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Alright. Since we know what's going on in week 10, they're actually taking him out. Did you hear me?
Nope.
Great. I said that in week 10, they're actually taking him out. General Blue is actually out for Roshi again.
Oh wow, that could be good for them. I know they've kind of struggled with Roshi, but maybe this is something they need to have a better team.
Hopefully. So, but he hasn't been the worst free agent in the world, so.
No, certainly not. I think that, especially at the beginning of the season, it looked like they were getting him to do really well for them. I just don't know if I'm just kind of looking at what they've done with him. I don't like the fact that they've been constantly changing his AI, because they've already benched him 3 times and changed his AI several. Because they started him off on Yajirobe, then they changed him to Piccolo, and then changed him to Krillin and Yajirobe AI for a week, and then back to Piccolo AI.
Yep. Since he's tied all 3 of his sets out, even with switching with Roshi, that means Roshi is stuck in. So if Roshi isn't doing hot, then he's kind of stuck there.
Yeah, they're kind of stuck. Who knows? Maybe they found something with Roshi. Did it say what form Roshi's starting in?
Believe base. Did you hear me?
Nope.
Base. Base. Discord. What the heck? Discord is just so good. Base.
Okay. So starting in base form, that could work. I mean, I think that Roshi might need some, because that's what we saw last season and the season before. Maybe it's time to see a return to Muscle Roshi as his starting form. But who knows?
Yep.
But yeah. Any other comments for Muscle?
Nope. I think that's pretty much it. So we'll see how Roshi does in this upcoming week, and hopefully they got something.
Yep. So let's go on to the coldest of teams, Team Cold. And they actually got a couple of nice wins the last couple weeks. Week 7 they won against Earth Defenders. Week 8 they pulled off a win against Derp, and Week 9 they lost to Afterlife.
Yeah. All right. Who are we talking about first?
Yep. Let's just start with King Cold. He was in week 7, 8, and 9. He's done pretty well, I think, for King Cold. I don't know if I agree with the defense +1 build on him.
It's really weird. Like, I'd probably take off like that fighting spirit and up him to defense +2 at the minimum.
Yeah, I don't think So for those who don't know, defense +1 is a 5% increase to defense, which, because defense Pataras just have the smallest bonus that any Pataras give in terms of blue Pataras. So I think they would get better results either by removing the quick fast attack or fighting spirit and just upping that to defense +2.
Mm-hmm.
At the same time, he's doing well for King Cold.
Yeah. So I can understand why they wouldn't want to make any too drastic changes, but I mean, against ED, he must have done well against ED because they won that fight. I remember against Derp, he did really well.
Yeah, he started out well against ED. He started off doing about even with TN before I think TN just either TN started messing around a little and King Cold finished him. Because I just remember that part of the match before.
Yeah, I do remember an even fight with him in TN. So,
yeah.
Him pulling off an even fight with TN is not bad.
No, it's not. It's really good because Cold only did like 30k that match. So I think TN finished him off, but the rest of the team just kind of picked up the slack.
Mm-hmm.
So, I can't think of anything else much to say about him because he seemed, Cold seems to be doing okay for King Cold, and I think that other than maybe changing it to defense +2, no, there is one thing I do want to say. Thank you for no longer trying to stack Master Strike and Quick Fast Attack. Because they did that like 3 times earlier in the season, and they don't stack. So it is good to see that at least that is not that 1 point is not being wasted anymore.
Yep.
So, but yeah. Nothing else. Let's move on to the person who's really been the reason why they're doing so well lately. That being Cooler. He was in all 3 weeks on an attack build. And he's just been... I feel like he's been really impressive the last few weeks.
Yeah. From King Cold, who's generally known to have a weaker melee game, it's good that, Cooler and a little bit of Meta Cooler can step in and fill that role. That put him in first form, gives him that quicker melee that the final form didn't have. And, yeah, he's been pretty well lately.
Yep. I like... It'll be interesting to see if that lasts, given how they've traditionally struggled with that.
Mm-hmm.
I do like the fact that, Cooler, I think this is the first time in a few seasons we've seen Cooler start in his first form. And, week 7, he actually had Master Throw, which is an interesting choice.
That's a really interesting choice. I'm not even a big fan of his grab either, so...
well, combined with, because Master Throw just doubles your grab damage, it can stack pretty quickly to where if you have an attack +1 or attack +2 on somebody, you can usually get about 26, 27, or even 2600 or 2700 damage, or even 3k or so, or 3000 damage out of a grab. And if you've got a character who can fairly reliably get it off like 16, that.
I actually like 16's grab. I just don't like him. That whole tail flip slam thing. I mean, you slam them on the ground and it doesn't lead to many combos. It actually leads to some misses. So, I don't know. I'm just not a big fan of the grab. I think I like the other things that they tried on him, like the light body and the Sirius in the later weeks. But, I mean, there's no complaining. I mean, it's just a 1 Patara difference, and he's been performing decently well despite that 1 Patara change. So.
Yep. So, I don't know there's much else to say other than it's really good to see him doing well on a melee build, and I think he's a big reason why they've been doing so well the last few weeks.
Yep.
So, let's move on to Meta Cooler. He's basically he was in all 3 weeks, and he's been their defense character. For the most part, sorry, what was that?
I'm just looking at the build. There's a lot of experimenting. The Active Heart, Miracle Master, then the week 8 build I'm fine with, and then you go to week 9, it's like Hatred of his Hands and Unleashed Key. Like, what is this?
Yeah, I would. Hey, so for those who don't know, Hatred of Saiyans is a passive charge Patara, like Tension Up or High Tension. So the difference is High Tension gives you 1 bar of ki every 20 seconds. Tension Up is once every 40 seconds. Hatred of Saiyans gives you 1 bar of ki every minute.
Wow.
So
That's so much ki gain.
So, for most,
No, go continue.
given
I'm just
the
being
way that
sarcastic.
most androids charge up, it's basically a ki plus 1/2 or ki plus 1/3. So
Just a little
it
bit
is
hindrance
a
on it. Like, I don't think the Hatred of Sam's worth it, but then I don't think the Unleashed Ki was worth it. Like, either you up it to and go with the high tension, or you get rid of it and up to the power of rage. But both of them are just kind of in. The Master Blast, like, does he have good rush blast? I don't even remember. It's been cool having
I
that.
think they're okay. I
I just love the attack minus with the defense +3 plus the attack minus of the Master Blast. Like,
Yeah,
we don't need him to do melee damage.
I don't agree with that because that's essentially what you're doing is you're using a weakened Rush Blast and attack. You're basically using Master Blast to cover up the attack -1 effect on your Rush Blasts. And then giving everything else another -1.
Yep.
I don't know that was really worth it. Personally, if they wanted him to have charge, I would have taken off that Master Blast and given him Tension Up instead of Hatred of Saiyans. That's just me. At the same time, Metacooler, I think, has been doing okay. We did have a few surprises in the last few weeks.
He's just not that
Defenders.
rebirther that he used to be last season.
He's just what?
He's not that rebirther that he used to be last season.
Yeah. Well, I don't know that was ever really consistent last season.
I don't think we've seen
remember
it from him at
happening
all
sometime.
this season. Have we?
I think there was one early on in the season, maybe against Muscle or just before. Or it was in the preseason. But I think there has been one this season.
Okay.
I just kind of like the fact that against Earth Defenders, he had a lock-on buster that just went through the Kamehameha.
Yeah.
I thought that was hilarious.
Yeah.
But yeah, on the whole, he's been doing... He is one... As of week 8, tell me, who do you think, as of week 8, who the best member of Cold is?
I would guess Final Form Frieza.
Best member.
Stat-wise?
You think... Yeah, stat-wise.
I'll probably guess Final Form Frieza.
It's Metacooler.
Really? Interesting. So I guess never mind. Do your thing.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't think it was Metacore that led to the loss against Afterlife. So
that being said, other than King Cold, every member of Cold is within just a few hundred points of each other because Cooler's at 42.4, Frieza's at 42.0, Mecha Frieza's at 42.6, and Metacooler is at 43.9. I mean, they're all really close to averaging the same amount of damage.
Mm-hmm.
So now how that's been spread out over the time, I don't know. But yeah, good job at Metacooler for at least holding that honor for a short time. But you brought up Frieza. Let's talk about him. He was in week 8. And that was it.
Yeah, they had to send him out eventually.
Yeah. They got him on... So week 8, he was on Goku AI on a super build.
And I believe he did pretty well. If I remember correctly, I believe Final Form Frieza.
Yep, let me take a look.
I don't know. Someone on...
Frieza did 76,000 points of damage.
Yep, it's definitely Frieza, so good job. Kind of sucks that that either you had to or you decided to put out Frieza against Afterlife. You might have won if Frieza was in.
Possibly. Although, to be completely fair to Afterlife, they were on fire that week.
They really were.
But you never know. I don't think there's any question that Goku AI did well on Frieza. But that was his first week on it. And Derp was also just kind of having problems that week. Like, that was the week that nobody was doing what they were supposed to do.
Yeah.
So while I don't want to take away their win from Cold, at the same time, I don't know that At the same time, I do want to put that in the context of it was clear that Derp was derping.
Mm-hmm.
So,
So maybe we might see Final Form Frieza, same build, same AI this upcoming week, and we'll see if that can be a run back or not with Frieza, if you actually got her.
we'll find out. I mean, they're facing my team. They've got to have him in, and I hope we've planned well enough to account for him doing well on his AI and build.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll talk about that when we get to my team.
All right.
So yeah, since he was only on 1 week, I don't think there was much to say.
Nope.
So let's talk about the other form of Frieza that was in Mecha Frieza. Pretty much the same thing on Goku AI with a super build. And I am going to put in week 9, he had Hatred of Saiyans as well.
Week 9, he kind of just didn't do as hot. I mean, he went up to max power, didn't ultimate, but Chaozu dodged it. Pulling off an even fight with Chaozu,
That's... I have a feeling we're going to see... So, let me see how he did against Earth Defenders before I say this, because I want to say that he had a similar performance. No, he had a 73k performance against Earth Defenders, and then he did that against Chaozu.
Wow, so I don't know. It's looking like whatever he came up with might be a little bit inconsistent. I mean, unless that one Potara difference really made that much of a difference, but he just wasn't throwing out as much, and he kind of kept on getting in melee fights with Chaozu.
Yep, I will say that that could have been the difference between him coming in with an ult versus him having to start.
Yeah,
because traditionally, yeah. That could just be that he threw out an ult and could start a combo because of that. I honestly don't remember how he did against Earth Defenders, other than going by what's on stats.
Yep.
So, but yeah, I mean, with his, as the coach of the androids, I really want Mecha Frieza's performance against Chaozu to be indicative of how he's doing. On the other hand, I really do want to see Cold improve, and I want to see Mecha Frieza do better than that.
Yeah.
So I don't know that there's much else to say, because I don't remember how he did against Earth Defenders. But I do find the choice of Goku AI interesting, just because from my understanding, it's generally it usually tends to be more melee-oriented on this difficulty. I know it's supposed to be balanced, but yeah. We all know how accurate the descriptions are supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. Anything else you want to add to that?
Nope. I think that's it for Cold.
Okay. Let's move on to androids. My team. Yay. Week 7, we faced the Vowels in a divisional. We lost. Week 8, we faced Muscle in a divisional. We won. Week 9 against Namek, we've won. Yay, my team. We're doing okay, I think.
Okay, you're doing pretty good. You're sitting at North Kai for next season right now, so.
Right now, I mean, but that can change. I mean, you look at the competition we've got with Vowels, Earth Defenders, Namek. That could still change very easily.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because there's like 5 or 6 teams that are sitting up there at like 6-3 or 7-2.
Yep.
So, I mean, so where should we start with our team? With my team?
Of course, you're team leader.
So let's start with Cell then. He is a super build on TNAI in perfect form, where he's limited to being on perfect form. Week 7. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say that it's just so interesting that he's all like that super plus 2, and yet he spams. I think that's really, what? I'm not going to say I was going to brag a little bit, but I feel like that's a little bit indicative of back when I was a tester for you guys temporarily. We were going into season 7, and I was like, I like perfect form Cell, and I like his B2s. He has a good charge rate. Give him that super plus 2 launch support even out, and he can do things. I remember saying that about Cell.
I think I remember you saying that way back when myself. Mm-hmm. It was just that season 6 he was on a B2 build. Mm-hmm. Most of the time, Season 7, we needed him to be melee because of how we try to have 17 be a B2 build.
Yeah.
And then Season 8, we got 17 working on melee, so we put Cell back on B2.
Yeah,
and
it's just so good.
Weeks 8 and 9, he threw out 7 B2s each. Yeah. It was glorious.
That's so scary. That's so scary that he spams, yet he hits like a truck. It's just like, great. That's totally what we need.
Yep. And then on top of that, he has Fighting Spirit to give him more charge and help him throw out more B2s.
Yep.
I'm happy with Cell. Damage Stats did come in for week 9 where he did just over 80k. And week 8 he did just over 70k. Week 7 he kind of got countered by Fasha.
He really did.
And that was just not that was not what we wanted. But the rest of the team kind of pulled it back, and we were in the lead until we got hit in the face with a rock by a Rayleigh.
Yep.
So yeah. But yeah, no, Cell's doing well. Moving on. Baby Vegeta, who was in week 7 and 8 on a defense build with Broly AI. He's generally doing his job. The last couple weeks were a little disappointing, but some of that was just week 7 he was in against a Rayleigh, and week 8 he started against Super Trunks, who was that matchup really came down to the fact that Vegeta just did not normally have the power of rage that he had been rocking. Mm-hmm. And had he not had that, it would have been, I think, a very different match for baby Vegeta. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, he was out in week 9. I think he's coming back in week 10. I don't think he put him out for Jiro, but I mean, builds are in already. Everything's in by the time this goes up. You want to tell us anything?
Nope, baby's in on his Power of Rage build with Defense +2 and Dendays.
Okay.
No, he has Unleash Key this week because we wanted him to have launch support. So he has Defense +2, Dendays, launch support, and Unleash Key.
Okay.
So, because he is the one player on our team that actually likes to get in clashes, so he needs at least a clash boost.
Yeah, or so just
his charge rate sucks. So yeah, he got launch of support, and because we wanted Ader to keep his fighting spirit, is what it came down to.
Yeah. Don't touch that Ader.
Yeah, that's one of my very few rules on my team, is if you want to touch Ader, you have to have a really good reason. And speaking of Ader, let's talk about him. He was on pretty much the exact same build both weeks. Super +1.
It's always the same build. Yeah, that's Ader. That's just Ader. He's consistent. He takes his man. He always does his 40k. He will never be the cause of your loss if you get a loss, and he will always be one of the. He won't be the star player generally of the team, but he will always be there, and he's always good.
Well, it's like with Ader, he either does his 40k or he does damage and tax. Because in both weeks 8 and 9, he did, well, in week 8, he did less than 40k to Bojack. But that's because 16 tagged out to Ader with 2 bars left on Bojack. And Ader just finished him off. Week 9, he threw out that glorious ultimate of You Hurt Goku to Vegeta. And then stood up to Tambourine, who was, I think, going into week 9, like 19th in the league. Took him down to 1 bar and then tagged 17. Let me double check that. Yep, he was 19th going into week 9.
I mean, there's not too much to say about Ader. He's good, he's consistent, he gets his job done, so.
Yep.
Kind of sucks that you had him out against Valkyries.
Why Ader's my favorite. Sorry, what were you saying?
I said it kind of sucks you had him out against Valkyries, though.
That was mostly because we couldn't think of anyone that he would have done well against.
Yeah.
Like, because the big reason why he's on Savior is Ader gets a max power mode power body against potentially a Rayleigh.
Yeah.
I don't see that going well for Ader. Then you look at, okay, well, maybe he goes against Fasha. Fasha, that would have probably been the best matchup on the Vowels, except for Pan. And we didn't want to take that risk. And so, like, if you just sub in where Baby Vegeta came in for Ader, I don't see that have going any differently for Ader than it did for Baby Vegeta. Because the Rayleigh was just on a tear and just decided to slaughter 17 and Baby.
Yep.
So, but moving on, let's talk about 17. He was in week 7 and 9. Week 7, he was on Attack Plus 2, Eternal Life, Ginyu. And week 9, he was on Attack Plus 2, Power Body, Ginyu. So,
it's interesting
does
that
his
he's
job.
he's a meleeer.
Yep. He's on that melee he's been wanting to do for 2 seasons. So.
Yeah.
And he kind of got slaughtered by a Rayleigh, and then week 9, he just didn't have a chance to do anything. So, nothing really to say there. Hopefully, Ginyu AI will prove itself out in the long run. He just really hasn't had a chance to show it out. So,
yeah, it sucks when you set up for testing. You're like, I don't care if I win or lose it. I just want to see the test, and you don't get to see anything. So,
yep. Well, I mean, his first outing was against Blades, where Ginyu AI just on 17 decided to just power through Saul's power body, and week after he got slaughtered by a Rayleigh, and then we benched him, and then week 9 he just didn't get a chance to do anything.
Yeah.
So, yeah, whatever. Not much to say there.
Nope.
So, and then last member of my team that we're going to talk about is, unless you have any other comments.
No, 17 is fine on a melee build. Just not that ball throwing, take my testicles to your face that he used to be. But he still throws them in occasionally. You still get teabagged occasionally. I'm sorry, it just his double ball attack is just like the left nut right, and I don't know, it just looks like that.
Yeah. So let's move on to 16. Week 7 and 9, he was on a Key Plus 2 build with Dende's healing on TNAI, with other small changes just depending on the week. And then week 8, he was on Attack Plus 2 Power Body with TNAI. And of course, the Key Patara on all those builds is Master Throw. So,
you talk about him because I really don't have too much opinion on him either or. Sometimes he's good, sometimes he's sometimes he's I think he's probably one of the most lackluster people, the people who stands out the least on your team. I don't know, besides Baby.
So, well, going into week 9, he was ranked 24th in the league. So, it's kind of hard to find a place for 16 because, his melee is okay. It's not fantastic. It's better than Ader's. He can't really be a B2 person because they're so hard to hit with. And because one of them's basically a grab, one's a self-destruct, and one is at Hell's Impact, which is so easy to dodge, which Late Piccolo showed. But yeah. So, but he basically just gets key and is told, here's some key, here's some healing for staying power, and here's some other boosts. So go do whatever you want to do.
Yep.
So, but yeah, I think that's everything to say about him.
Yeah. And any changes? Darrell coming back in?
Not this time around. He's still enjoying his retirement.
Okay.
Depending on how the last few weeks of the season go, if we have some ideas to test him, we might test him, we might not. The things I know I want to test are going to require that Giro stay on the bench.
Okay.
Because they're experimental enough as it is. So,
all right.
But yeah, I think that's everything for my team. Which brings us to predictions. Let's start with Valkyries. So Valkyries will be facing Booze, Derp, and Cold in a divisional in the upcoming few weeks.
Mm-hmm. I guess I'll go first. All right. So we already know a little bit of information about the Week 10 Valkyries versus Booze. We know that Aurelia is in, 18 is out. Fasha is starting versus Oob. So I'm hoping that goes in Oob's favor, and then Oob can start working a little bit on Aurelia, because I know last season Oob kind of beat the crap out of Aurelia in the melee game, so maybe run that back. I would not be surprised if Aurelia has Dragon Power, because she probably should for the Clash. They've been dropping her down to Power Rage a little bit, but no, you probably need to go Dragon Power on her. And then the rest, I don't know. We're bringing in a pool, we're experimenting, but then, they also have Pan, and we'll see what Vegeta's gonna do, and Evil Boo hopefully will be back in good fashion. I can see Valkyries taking that. I really can. But I'm just gonna say my team because I really want my team to win. So Derp, I don't think so. The Rayleigh's out. Derp, I mean, that could be the time where Derp sits out Nova, but they have Nova in no way. And then Cole for divisional. That means that Aurelia will be back in. I'm probably gonna have to give that to Valkyrie. So for now, I'm gonna say 1-2.
Okay. So I'm gonna have to say the same thing probably. On the whole, I think that I think they will probably win against your team.
Mm-hmm.
But with Derp, it's a toss-up because if they don't bench Nova, even if they bench Nova, I think it's a lot closer of a match. But Derp still on the whole, I think, is more solid than the rest of Valkyries, and because they're not going to have Aurelian, and I think while the rest of the team is competent, I feel like Derp is just a little more solid, so I think Derp will win that. Cold's been on a tear lately. I am intending to stop their Virgioning win streak this week, but I mean, they're really good, and if they can counter the fact, like if they get a good enough lead on the rest of the team that Aurelia can't cover that distance, I'm pretty sure Cold will take it, especially since they know what lineup to expect.
That's true.
So,
so a lot of weight on Aurelia.
Yeah. As I said, 18 and Vegeta are also above 40k, but I don't see them being
like the 80, 90k that they might need depending on the rest of the team.
I mean, as I said, the rest of Cold is just shaping up really well. I mean, even Medical, as I said, Medicooler, of all people, is their top-rated player. I mean, some of that is just the fact that they really struggled with the Friezas and Base Cooler for a while. But, I mean, they're changing that. They're fixing it. They're getting it to work for them. So, but yeah. Moving on to Muscle. They've got Derp this coming week, ED the following week, and Booze in week 12.
That hurts, especially for a team that's been as inconsistent and shaky as Muscle has been.
Yeah.
To face those three in a row like that hurts. I know Derp is doing... We know a little bit of information. We know that Muscle is sitting out General Blue and bringing back in Roshi. But, I mean... you need that Broly, and I know Derp did a switch around too. I know Derp, they set out Pilaf and brought back in Kui. Yep, so that means Nova is taking over for Pilaf now. Did they say that? I don't remember them saying if Nova was in or not against Muscle.
I don't remember either, honestly. Either way...
I'd still say Derp is more consistent, even without Nova, so I'm probably going to have to get to Derp. Eevee still more consistent, and then hopefully by then Booze will have everything ironed out, so it really to come down to that, but even then, I'm still going to say, even with the little inconsistency problems that Booze having, Muscle's having it worse, so I'm still going to have to give Booze. I'm going to still say that Muscle, you're still, with how consistent and strong those next three are, you're going to stay on your losing streak, so I'm going to say 0-3.
Yep, I'm going to be right there. I mean, even with... So I'm assuming, for prediction purposes, I'm assuming Derp is going to bench Nova. I don't see Muscle taking down Derp. I think I'm just going to say 0-3 as well for the same reasons you gave.
Mm-hmm.
So moving on. Cold, they face Androids first week. in a divisional. They face DB Warriors and then Vals in another divisional.
Well, I definitely think that Colts can beat Androids because Androids suck. No, I just think Androids are a stronger, more consistent team right now, and Colt is working up there, definitely. So I think that that they could possibly beat the Dragonball Warriors. Like I said, depends on Nom card, because of course I could definitely see Dragonball Warriors sitting out Nom, because I think that Cold could be an easy victory, and that might be their downfall. So I can see Cold winning that. After divisional, it really depends. It really depends on what Aurelie does and how she shows up in the rest of the team. So for now, I'm gonna say 1-2, but I'm not gonna say what that one victory or the 2 losses will be, because I don't know.
Yep. So I'm clearly gonna say they're gonna lose our match. DB Warriors is gonna be tough. I think with what we're seeing from Cold, that they could take it. Same with Vals. Quite honestly, I want Cole to win versus Vals, more so that Vals fall behind than anything else.
Mm-hmm.
But I also think that if Cole keeps improving, they can take them. Mm-hmm. And even with Aurelie in, the fact that they can see that coming with 100% certainty, and then they can look and see what that lineup is, they can tune their team to what they think will be the best for that.
Yep.
And so I'm going to say 2-1 because of that reason.
All right.
So let's move on to my team, Androids. We face Cold in a divisional upcoming, Saiyans the following week, and Majins the week after.
That is a difficult lineup.
It is.
Cold, I already said that you're probably going to take that. You're just a stronger, more consistent team, and you're not going to back down. I know that. Saiyans, that could be an interesting one, because I know Cell needs some sitting. He needs to sit down a little bit. I'm not sure when you're going to sit Cell, but I have a feeling that if you sit Cell against the Saiyans, I can say that the Saiyans will be able to take you. I say that their melee game is going to be strong enough to take you. So I'm going to say that they might beat you on that one. It's about who's home? Who's home?
Against Saiyans? Let me go double check.
I need to know if you're home. I could give you a little bit of advantage. Also Majins too. Who's home?
Let's see. Week 11, we're at the Saiyans' home. Majins, I believe, is at our home because we were at their home in the preseason.
Okay. I'm gonna give it to the Saiyans, and then I think you could probably take the Majins, especially since you're at home. And they might have a little bit of trouble on the wire, but I don't know, because Deborah and Maju, that's a tough one too, because you're both very consistent teams lately.
Yep.
So for now, I'm just gonna say 2-1. I'm not gonna say who you're gonna lose against.
So I want to go 3-0, but for many of the same reasons you're saying, I think realistically it'll be 2-1.
You're not going to say who's sitting out where or anything like that. Don't give
I'm
out
not going
too
to say anything like that. The only thing I'm going to say is one of the reasons why I feel confident in my team is we bankrupted what few Zenny we had for Cold and gave Cell a Super +1.
On top of his Super +2 again.
On top of his Super +2.
Here we go with the Super +3. Oh no.
Super +3, and then, you're looking at no charge negatives and fighting spirit on top of that. So, yeah, good luck with that.
Yeah. Hopefully he does better than he did against Fasha.
Yeah, well, he's not starting this time, so that'll help. So hopefully he'll just start off with a Super +3 ult.
Oh my god.
And then, yay!
I don't want to see that.
That would be fantastic. But then against Saiyans and Majins, a lot of it, as you said, is probably going to depend on when we end up deciding to bench Cell.
Yep.
I know who I want to bench him against at the moment. I'm not going to say.
But I could or I could see you benching Cell and taking the loss because of that. So.
Yeah, I mean, I think I know which team I think we need Cell against. Mm-hmm. I think with one of those. I
mean, Cell could be in against both of them. All right, so you don't know.
Yeah, I mean, with Majins, a lot will also come down to, will we see 126k Maju again?
I hope not.
God, I hope not. So, right. Yeah, it'll come down to who. Mm-hmm. I think there's one team where my team can pick up the slack and we'll be fine. So I'm going to push for benching Cell against them. And then the other team, I know I want to keep Cell in against them. Because I'm not going to rotation lock my team so that we become predictable.
No, you got to be the Valkyries.
Yep. So sorry for the jab, Valkyries. But anyway, that is our cast for the week. I hope you have enjoyed it. Thank you guys for joining us.
Yep, thank you. Even just the two of us. Sorry for the small cast.
Yep. Sorry for the small group and the technical difficulties that we have had.
Yeah, apologies.
Yep.
Nope, thanks for listening.
Later.
Nope. Bye.